Good morning. On behalf of our university leadership, please let me be among one of the first at FAU to offer you a congratulations on your admission to Florida Atlantic University. We have been looking forward to this event all week, and each morning when I've been getting my clothes out of the closet, I've looked at this FAU red shirt that I'm wearing and said to myself, keep it in there till Friday. The past 2 weeks at FAU has brought exciting news as we are planning our first in-person commencement in over a year, and the knowledge that if things keep moving according to plan, pending CDC guidance, we will finally be able to welcome in person all of our first-year students and some of those rising sophomores that haven't yet been to campus. Today is about choosing FAU, and your attendance here lets us know that you either already chose FAU or that you are considering choosing FAU. And either way, we are excited about the possibility of you joining us in summer or fall. I serve FAU as the interim vice president for student affairs and enrollment management. Our role, our why, as we like to say at FAU, is to engage you from the point of high school through the collegiate experience and culminating in graduation and a plan post-graduation, whether that be graduate school or a job. When you return for new student orientation, you will hear me say this again. So here you are, most of you as high school seniors getting ready to make one of the most important decisions of your life. I say this not to overwhelm you or to make you anxious, but rather to let you know that it is important to listen and learn today so that you know whether or not FAU is for you. And while we sincerely hope that you will choose us, this is a partnership. We know we want you, and we want you to know that you want us. Embarking on this collegiate experience is an exciting and an anxious time for our prospective students and for their family and friends who may be supporting them through this journey. Given the uncertainty of the past year, many of your questions may be about what to expect on campus this summer and fall. And while we cannot know for certain what the CDC guidelines will recommend, we are very hopeful that with vaccine distribution and the continuation of wearing masks and social distancing, FAU will be ramping up our in-person engagement on campus for summer and fall. We know that new student orientation for those that are starting in summer 3 will be completely virtual. We know that instruction for those that are starting in summer 3 will be what we call high flex, which means that some courses will be completely self-directed while others will be live lecture. The live lecture allows for a similar situation to what you may be coming out of in high school. We are hopeful that fall will look very similar to fall 2019 and the beginning of spring 2020. All of us in the state university system, and probably throughout the state and the country, share in that hope. This fall, we are planning for a more traditional semester. While FAU has always offered online courses, the vast majority of our courses should be in person. We expect that faculty and staff will fully return to our campuses so that we can ensure that all FAU students have an engaging collegiate experience. We are actively planning for residence hall move-in, our first-year convocation, our OWL-involved student organizational fair, weeks of welcome programming, and I just saw the plans for our annual bonfire, which will kick off our fall semester. And last but not least, watching our athletes return to the fields to play. There is excitement surrounding the recent addition of our esports arena, and we have added a number of outdoor seating areas around our campus. You're going to hear a lot of information today. It can be challenging in a virtual setting to be focused, but as I mentioned early, this is an important decision. So do your best to limit the number of background distractions, take out a pen and pencil and paper, and write down your thoughts, and more importantly, your questions. Write down our names and the offices of the people you hear from, knowing that each person you hear from today views your success as their success, and collectively our shared success. Start to work through your plan of what you want to do once you arrive here in Boca Raton. Most importantly, try and end the day with all of your questions answered so that you are ready to make the decision to choose us, to choose FAU. Finally, even though we are virtual today, we anxiously await the opportunity to see you and meet you in person. I wish you a wonderful visit with us. And now I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague, Joelle Vanderhorst, who serves as the Director of First-Year Admissions for FAU. Go Owls!
Thank you, Dr. Furman, for the introduction and wonderful remarks. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Choose FAU and the Owldone panel. My name is Joel Vanderhorst, and I serve Florida Atlantic University as the Director of Admissions for the Honors College up on our Jupiter campus, as well as Director of First Year Recruitment right here in our Boca Raton campus. Today, however, I will be your moderator and very much look forward to introducing our panelists momentarily. But first things first, I would like to start by saying congratulations to all admitted students this morning who are joining this virtual opportunity. We are very excited that you're with us and also thankful that you're spending some time with us this morning. We do have valuable information to share with you, but we're also eager to hear your questions. So, what is this Owldone that we've just mentioned? As an admitted student, you now have access to a student portal called Owldone. You'll continue to learn about it throughout this session, and many of the topics covered today start right there. So just as Dr. Furman mentioned, grab a pen and paper. This might be one of your first notes. Take note of the website. Owl, for our mascot, and Done, D-O-N-E. So owldone.fau.edu. We are here to help and guide you throughout the processes and very much look forward to our interactions. So, the panel today. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to engage with key areas of the university that ensure a seamless transition as you navigate your onboarding process. You'll be interacting with some of my colleagues from housing and residential education, from university advising, the Career Center, and new student transition and family engagement. Now, some housekeeping items before we get started. If you're curious about the itinerary, I promise you are in the right place, and I'll make sure to guide you to your next location following the panel, which should take us close to 10 a.m. this morning. Then you'll have an opportunity to engage with schools and colleges starting right after the panel at 10. I encourage questions via chat that should become available momentarily after I introduce our panelists. If after I introduce the panelists, you do not see the chat, please go ahead and refresh the page and it will be right there for you. Also, if for whatever reason you have a question that is not covered throughout this panel, please know that we are here to help. We want to make sure that by the end of our program today, your questions are answered and that you take care of business. So I encourage you to stay throughout the entirety of our program today. So at this point, I would like to introduce our panelists. And as you come in, if you would tell us who you are, your role at FAU, and really anything else that you'd like to share with us. So why don't we go ahead and get started with, let's see, Mr. Joe Murray from University Advising Services.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on this morning. So my name is Joe Murray, and I'm the Assistant Dean for University Advising Services. And basically what that means is it's my office that all of you will be interacting with both your first and second year of your time here at FAU as you begin your college career. You'll also be going through our academic advising program called Easy Advising. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up here. That's connected to your Owldone portal. A little bit about myself. I've been here for 7 years. I'm actually, my family is what I would call Owl in, which means I've got two kids that graduated from FAU. One is now in law school, so very excited. He went through the political science program here. My daughter was a Spanish major and is teaching for the Broward County School District. So great success. Very happy to be with you today. And with that, let me introduce Catherine Coleman.
Good morning, all future owls. My name is Catherine Coleman. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Director of Housing and Residential Education here at FAU. And so I wanted to say welcome and thank you for choosing FAU. My professional staff and student staff are so excited to have you here for the fall. We are committed to seeing you explore at what FAU has to offer to develop the skills that is necessary for your academic success, for the inclusion and diversity of all our students, to engage in all this FAU pride that you'll see today, and to strengthen your academic career. Like Joe said, start at that Owldone portal first. And just note that by choosing FAU and choosing housing, you know that you'll get a well-rounded experience here at FAU. Now to my colleague, Brian.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Brian Montalvo, and I serve FAU as the Senior Director of our FAU Career Center. I've been at the Career Center now for about 15 years at FAU, so I've seen a lot of students have amazing career success. I'm here this morning to talk with you about our Major Knowledge Program and answer any questions around career services, career advising, or just the Career Center in general. I am just like Joe. I've got two students who are going to be enrolling at FAU. They don't know it yet, but they will be enrolling in 2029 and 2034. So look forward to chatting with you and answering any questions. And with that, I'm going to pass it to my good friend and colleague, Dr. Katie Burke.
Hello and good morning, future owls and families. We are so thrilled that you are with us today. Thank you so much, Brian. My name is Dr. Katie Burke. I serve FAU as Executive Director of New Student Transitions and Family Engagement. And what that most importantly means for you right now is I will work with all of you incoming owls for your orientation experience. My team is committed to helping you start FAU strong and finish even stronger. I have 4 degrees from FAU, and as a first-generation student, initially my first degree, I didn't know I could do this. And now I'm here and I have a doctorate I finished a few years ago, and I'm so grateful for this community. It's a really unique place at FAU where you can make a mark here, and I'm so excited to work with all of you as you come here and make a difference with our community. Passing it back to you, Joelle.
Wonderful, and thank you to all of you for those introductions. Now, Dr. Burke, don't go away so fast. My first question is for you, but before I do that, a reminder to all the students, families, guests that are joining us this morning, we encourage those questions. So make sure as you see the chat, if it hasn't, make sure that you're refreshing the page. We also want to hear from you. So Dr. Burke, let's start with you. You mentioned transition in your title, new student transition. You mentioned orientation. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what SOAR is? Because I know that that'll be a topic for our students. So expand on that and maybe who goes to it.
Yeah, my pleasure. So student orientation, academics, and resources, or SOAR, is your chance to come to FAU through your orientation. So many of you might have thought about what your orientation to college would look like. Well, I'm happy to tell you that we have an amazing team here at FAU that will literally walk with you through the transition experience to what it means to become an owl and make sure that you fly high when you're here at FAU. So SOAR, it is a 3-phase experience that we have for our students and our families to participate. So in the summer, for our summer starting students, we have a 3-phase experience. We have the first phase, which is a self-directed Canvas orientation. Canvas is our online portal for all of your academic courses. So we start you there. We get you in Canvas. We put a bunch of information in there for you to work through and learn a ton about how you start FAU and all of the resources there for you. Families also have a Canvas self-directed orientation in the phase 1 experience. Now for phase 2, we have orientation day. For our summer starting students, it will look similar to this. It's a live, virtual, synchronous event where we have our orientation leaders and other colleagues from around campus that will help you learn all about FAU and what you need to know now to begin your experience here and learn about all of the many things FAU has in store for you. Families, similarly, you can also join your student for that live virtual experience where some of your sessions will be together and some of them will be separate with other families just like you. We also have a 3rd phase for our students that's called How to FAU. This is extended orientation and just in time for the start of your semester. So for summer starting students, it is that Saturday right before classes begin. It's, again, a live virtual experience similar to this one, and you'll receive all of the information you need for that when you sign up through the Owldone portal. For our fall starting students, similarly, it is a 3-phase experience. The differences, though, are for the second and third phase. For phase 2, for your orientation day, our fall students have the opportunity to come to campus. So we have a 2-day orientation experience that we call the premium experience, that when students sign up for their orientation, they can select their dates and decide to come to campus to orient. Right now, those reservations and the option to sign up is available for you through your Owldone portal. And the capacities for those events right now are about 50 to align with our restrictions given COVID. But we hope that by the end of summer, we'll be able to increase those capacities. So as dates fill up, you'll really want to get in there and reserve your dates now. The third phase for our fall starting students is a lot of fun. It is How to FAU. The summer students join as well. So it's an opportunity for all of the fall and summer starting 2021 students to come together and again, get that just-in-time information to help you start your fall strong. That weekend right before classes start in the fall is a really important weekend for you. We also have freshman convocation and some other experiences that we'll share a lot with you about as time moves forward. So that's it, Joelle. I'll hand it back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that information, Dr. Burke. And what a wonderful opportunity for students and guests to meet each other, interact with FAU, the community, while at the same time taking care of a lot of important business in that onboarding transition. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go over to Catherine. And Catherine, on the housing side of things, are all first-time in college students required to live on campus? Very popular question.
Oh, yes, the most important question. So first, if you are residing or planning to come to live on campus on our Boca Raton campus, if you live greater than 30 miles from our Boca campus, you would be required to live on campus. And our housing application is now open. You can go through the Owldone portal to sign up. We always want to make sure that you do that. Any student who lives within 30 miles, they can apply, but is not required to live on campus. Any other exemptions can be found on our website. Now, for all of our Wilkes Honors College students, they are required to live on campus for 2 years because we have a residential college at our Jupiter campus. And so by living on campus for 2 years, you really immerse yourself in the academic rigor of the campus, but also working with our faculty who are in our buildings, engaging in research, talking about continuing education and academic opportunities at 2 of our great resources right there next to our Jupiter and Wilkes Honors College campus.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Catherine. And also, once again, as a reminder, SOAR, so a lot of the orientation components that we just discussed, as well as housing contract, guess what? They're live, happening as we speak in Owldone. Now, the next set of questions that is opening up, I understand very quickly, very soon, it's regarding advising. So, Joe, this time of the year, we get a lot of questions about advising and registration. So could you explain how the advising process works at FAU, and also what is the difference between advising and registration?
Oh, my pleasure. So this is actually something that really sets FAU apart from most of our other schools in Florida and in the nation, really. Katie talked a little bit about all of the great things that are going to happen at orientation. And one of the reasons those things are possible is because we set the expectations for our students that you have already received your advising and you have registered for your courses before, and I'm going to say that twice, before you come to orientation. Because we don't want orientation to be about the mechanics of trying to get the courses that you want at the times you want. Orientation should be about building a relationship and a connection to the campus and to your colleagues and peers on campus. So for us, academic advising, which is called Easy Advising, that's going to be through the portal, the Owldone portal, which we've talked about, is an opportunity for you to communicate with us some very important questions that we have about you, your interests, your passions. You have the opportunity to change your major if that is something that you have decided you want to change from the point in which you applied to the point in which you start taking classes either this summer or in August. So if you're thinking right now about what you've declared on your application is not the direction you want to go, no problem, no needs to contact admissions at this point. You will do that through your easy advising process. And so with this, we're going to ask you some questions. Probably the most important question on that process is for you to tell us any credits, AP credits, test exams, CLEP, dual enrollment, all of those things, anything that you have academic college level credit for, you're going to tell us in that form, even if you don't know for sure. This is really important because a lot of those exams haven't happened yet. And so we want to know the things that are pending, and we're going to advise around those things and get you into classes, assuming that you pass them all. And if you don't, that's all right. Then we will go back and we'll make the corrections as we go. But we want to make sure that we take that into account right now. And so that is probably back to the original question, Joel. That is the thing that really sets FAU apart. We're going to get you advised and scheduled. And believe it or not, looking at my clock here, Monday, March 22nd is when this opens, right? And so if you talk to your peers in your high schools, I guarantee the vast majority of them will not be doing their advising and course scheduling until they attend orientation some point in June, July, and August. We want that done now. We want your schedule complete with the most perfect set of times and faculty and classes that we can get you right now so that you're ready to go. And that really, I think, sets certainly us apart, but it really is to your advantage. And so the ball is in your court. The quicker you deposit, which opens up all of these onboarding opportunities, then the advising processes will kick in, and we will assign your advisor as soon as you submit that easy advising form, and then you will have an advisor one-on-one that will work with you between now and the start of classes. Joel?
Wonderful. And as I heard you speak, I'm seeing questions coming in the chat. Perfectly timed. I know we're going to take a deeper dive momentarily in some of those transfer credits, how we do those things. So hopefully that clears things up for some of our attendees. But I want to move on to Brian here for a second. And Brian, in your introduction, you talked about your role at the university within the Career Center. And these are all new students that are coming in. So what is the relationship here between being a new student at FAU and the Career Center? And also, you mentioned Major Knowledge. So talk to us. What is going on with Major Knowledge there?
Yeah, no, and I think my good friend Joe really highlighted some pieces that really make FAU unique, and I want to do a very similar thing in the career world. So I think, Joel, to best understand Major Knowledge, I think it's first important to better understand how FAU and the FAU Career Center approaches career development in general. So at FAU, we approach career development in a very unique and proactive way. And just like Joe was mentioning, this is very different from most schools in the Florida state system. So we don't wait for our students to be juniors or seniors or even sophomores to begin to ask them about their plans beyond FAU. So from the beginning, we want to engage them in a conversation about their career options and their long-term career goals beyond FAU. So one of the ways we do this is through a program we call Major Knowledge. So Major Knowledge is a program that we've customized for our students. It contains a career interest assessment, and we tie our students' interests to occupations in the world of work as well as majors. Now, the assessment in there, or Major Knowledge in general, this doesn't select a major for our students as they determine that on their own, but it does help them make an informed choice. So the moment a student from day one is thinking about career development and a complete Major Knowledge, we become informed about this completion of the assessment, and we reach out to the student. We invite them in for an hour-long kind of one-on-one career advising session where we do two things. One, we review their results and help them understand what their results mean to them. It's very individualized. And we build them a career action plan, some very succinct steps of things they can and should be doing the next 4 years at FAU to be successful at graduation and beyond.
Thank you, Brian. Alrighty, so one of the questions that I see here in the chat, I guess it's a combination for both advising, well, I guess for Joe and for Catherine. So early on, we talked about summer and classes online, if you know that was what was captured. And also first-year students that have a requirement to live on campus. So the question is, even with all classes online during the summer, do we still have to be on campus? So I'm not sure, maybe Catherine, can we start with you?
Yep, I'll start. So for summer term, you are not required to live on campus. So, really, given that we're all on an online basis, you're not required. If you choose to, that's your particular choice. We do have our summer application open. So we are taking applications for students who do wish to live on campus with us for the summer term.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Alrighty, so I guess while we're in the topic, housing. Catherine, once again for you. If I've already paid my summer 2021 housing, will I have to submit another application for the fall semester?
So yes, there are different applications for each term. So the summer term is a different application, and then we have an academic year contract. And so you'll need to apply. However, if you've already paid the application fee, then you won't have to pay that application fee again. You'll just need to go into your housing portal once again, and then to complete the 2021-2022 housing application for the academic year. And we're happy to walk you through. We also have a session later today as well, and I'll be going through some of that process. But within that process, when you go in the housing portal, you'll be able to list your 3 preference spaces, and as well as look at what individuals have completed our lifestyle questions, so you can match up with your roommates and things of that nature. So like I said earlier, make sure that you're going on the Owldone portal, completing all those things that you need to get done, especially housing, because our housing application has been open for some time. And so we want to make sure that you get one of your top preferences and you don't wait too late. We have a high need and a high interest for housing for our fall semester. So you want to make that decision as soon as possible.
Wonderful. And while we switch topics, since we mentioned, we're talking about housing and a lot of summer questions and online versus in person, may I ask you, Joe, what is going on with options in terms of classes specific to the summer terms?
Sure, my pleasure. So summer is an intense experience. So we're taking a 16-week semester long term, and we're squeezing it down into about 6 weeks. So we limit how many courses students can take in the summer. So summer term 3, and actually I will look up the date. I don't have the date here right in front of me, or if somebody else wants to make sure that I get that right. Once that summer term starts, we want to have students take 2 courses. And actually, quite a few of those will be available in a face-to-face format on campus. And I think that was maybe a place that we need to clarify that those will be offered both face-to-face and in a virtual setting, so that students can choose which best fits their learning styles. And that's really important because everybody learns a little bit differently, and we want to make sure we align those as much as we possibly can, given the constraints these days with what those are. So students will have that choice, especially if they're on campus, to attend those courses, at least some of them face-to-face. And every student will be in 2 classes along with what we would call an academic success class. And this is one just to make sure that you get off on the right foot, both for the summer and for the fall. That course is also available in the fall for fall starting students. June, let's see, June 28th started the summer term.
Sorry, go ahead, Catherine. I think I interrupted you there.
No, it's okay. I also want to, Joe just gave the date for our summer term, which starting is June 28th, and our check-in would be June 25th. So we do let students move in a couple days before so that they're ready and prepared for their academic classes starting that Monday.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that information. And, a bit of a general question. For students that graduate high school in May and apply for summer 2021, okay, so we already have that question out of the way. When do classes start? June 28th. Okay, so that's a date that you want to take note of. Let's see. We have a lot of questions coming in. That's wonderful. Now, Joe, you talked about the importance of talking about credits transferring in, ACE diplomas, APs, IBs, and so on. Can you share with us what the process looks like and why is it really important so early on in the advising process?
Sure. So I am sure that all of you have worked really, really hard to pass those courses to get those academic credits. And I suspect if not yourself, your parents and the folks that are paying for this would really prefer that you don't take the course twice, especially the one that fulfills the same requirement. And that really is what this boils down to, is to make sure that if you have credit for American history because of the AP exam, that we don't put you back in American history. So it is critical that we know what you are bringing in. The challenge here, and you all know this, those credits are not communicated back to the institution this early in the process. In fact, a lot of times we won't get those until very late in the summer, and clearly we want you registered and advised before that happens. And so we're going to assume, based on the information you tell us in Easy Advising, that these are the classes that I'm currently enrolled in, that I have the opportunity to earn college credit, and we're going to assume you have credit, advise around those. And it's always easier to backtrack and put you in a course to fulfill a requirement if you didn't complete it, but we don't want you in a class that it turns out you got credit for and now you're duplicating it and repaying for the whole thing. So that probably is the most important part of this whole process, is make sure when you're doing that Easy Advising that you don't leave anything out, because these things are not anywhere in our official documents here at FAU yet, because you haven't completed them yet, and your high school and the ACE and Cambridge and all those folks haven't sent us those scores. So we're relying on you to tell us what you think you might have credit for.
Perfect, thank you. Now, since we talked about starting dates for the summer, I also want to put out there for the folks that are joining us in the fall classes start August 23rd. So make sure that you're taking note of those important dates. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit, and I have a bit of a fun question here. Can I bring my car to campus in my first year? Anyone want to take that? I'll give you a hint. I'm not my head. Brian, can you bring cars as a freshman? Oh,
I'll take it, Joel. Yes. So yes, I mean, that's one of our popular questions, but yes, you can bring a car. And if you live on campus, you'll be even closer to your building. So there are different parking lots, but based on your status as a student. So if you're a residential student or a commuter, but there's ample parking. And so our students are super excited because a lot of our other competitors and other schools in the state allow first year students to have cars on campus. So, and it's free. So that's always a plus.
Thank you, Catherine. Now, Dr. Burke, if I may, I see a question here in the chat. When signing up for orientation, do I want to sign up for a session in August when school starts, or can I sign up for the soonest possible session?
So the answer is yes and yes. So you can sign up for the sessions that work best for your schedule. As my partner, Joe Murray, mentioned in All Things Getting Students Started Strong at FAU, we already have the advising piece and potentially the registration piece done, we hope, by the time you come to orientation. So the timing for you to be here with us for your orientation experience is really up to you. We always say the earlier the better. That way it's done. You start making relationships. You start to tap into the resources, many of them that are available to you before you even start classes here. So it's really going to be up to you and your family's schedule. I will say, though, the earlier the better to make your reservation, because as I indicated earlier, the dates do have a tendency to fill up as we get later into the summer. So be sure you're checking the dates as soon as possible. And if you run into any conflicts, you can always email us at orientme@fau.edu. Again, that's orientme@fau.edu. That information is all, guess what, in your Owldone portal.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Burke. Now, Brian, I haven't forgotten about you here, and I have a question specific to the Career Center. And this is, obviously, we know that you meet and guide students throughout their time at FAU. But early on, let's say for some of our incoming students that are just curious about some of the resources available to them throughout their time here, what are some of those tools, connections, maybe even popular events that they can look forward to? Because we know a lot of our students are coming in now, but they're already thinking, what's going to happen a couple of years from now when I'm looking to, to transition into the workforce.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Joel. And I think career centers in general is a unique space where up and through the K through 12 system, you don't really encounter a career advisor or a career center. So in terms of resources and how we help students, it's a fully comprehensive center. It becomes a one-stop shop. So there's a search engine called Google. I'm sure everyone's heard of Google. We always say to our students, the moment you feel a need to Google anything related to career, how to write a resume, we can help with, how to find internships. Instead of Googling those items, Google the FAU Career Center. So we help students with kind of the exploration, trying to figure out what occupations exist for them, to helping them become career ready with practice interviews, the resume prep, help, how to teach them how to network. There's also a strong component on helping our students acquire both on and off-campus internships, part-time employment. We work with very many different companies and large industries who are right in our backyard and across the state and really the country to help ensure that our students are acquiring the kind of skills and experiences they should be. We even go as far in terms of our comprehensiveness as providing professional clothes for our students. So we solicit professional clothes from the community and give it away to our students. We do professional headshots for their professional sites. And obviously, we bring a lot of employers to campus through job fairs and other networking events to ensure that our students are being exposed to the world of work and really making those connections to be successful beyond FAU.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. And if I may switch things back to housing, I see a lot of questions coming in regarding housing and residential education. Once I do my housing contract, so they've already paid their deposit, they have completed their housing, what's next? When will they know which dorm, which residence hall they'll be assigned to, roommates, what's a timeline here?
So great question, Joelle. So once you complete your housing contract, you'll start to receive some communication at your FAU email, which is really important. You should be checking that from pretty much from the time you choose us. You should be checking that email consistently. So all of my colleagues that they're talking about all the different parts of the Owldone portal, they'll be sending that information to that email. So as much as you love your Google, your Yahoo, and all of the other ones, this is the one you need to really focus on and spend that time making sure you kind of organize yourselves. But starting about late June, we'll start to send out our housing assignments for the fall. For roommates, that will come about a month later. So first we send out the assignments to every student, and then we turn on within our housing portal the ability for students to see their roommate matching. For students who have already matched their roommates, so if me and Katie decided we wanted to be best buds and be in the same room, we would already know that because we selected each other and we agreed upon that during the housing portal selection time. But now we'll just be able to see the additional people in our suite space and communicate and get to figure out who's going to bring that, awesome fridge or microwave, what kind of things are we decorating the bathroom, all of those things. So we give you about a month to kind of settle, to know what building you're in, to kind of go through that virtual tour one more time to kind of get a good layout. And then we then open up the portal to allow you to see your roommates and make that connection. We don't give out personal information like cell phones and things of that nature. It'll just be an email because we don't want to just release student information for other students to see. So we send an email so that way you can see someone and communicate through the portal experience.
Perfect, thank you. And before we switch gears here, Catherine, related to housing, what's the relationship between housing and the meal plan? I see a question here. Is food included in the tuition?
So when you do look at your billing statement, the housing cost is separate from your meal plan. So you get to select different options for your meal plan. So for both our Boca Raton residents and our Wilkes Honors College, you'll just go onto the business services, or you can look on your Owldone portal and see some information related to meal plans, and you get to select. And then you have, just in case, because things happen, you decided, I thought I could live off of 14 meals. And then I realized I love this awesome food and I want 19 meals. You're happy to go within the first 2 weeks of school and contact business services, and you can either lower your meal plan or up your meal plan. But those are your 2 weeks time to kind of make the best decision for yourself.
Alrighty, so let's go back to some of the academic related questions that we're seeing here. We have some students that have very specific interests, let's say in engineering, and they've been accepted into an engineering bridge program. Can you, Joe, maybe describe a little bit what that experience looks like, and also, if I may add to that question, any information you can share with us regarding the academic success pathway as well?
Sure. So there's a variety of different, and I'll use that same language, Joel, pathways into FAU. And those pathways really are built and designed to make sure students get off on the right foot, right? Because we're all coming in with a slightly different background and strengths and weaknesses from your previous experiences in high school or from other locations. And so with that, let me start with the engineering pathway first. As probably most of you, if you think about it, would guess, the most important thing about engineering is, and where's Brian? I need my drum roll, is math. Math is going to drive everything in engineering, which means that if we have a student that maybe didn't have as strong a math background as our engineering faculty think they should to help them be successful and get into those next set of courses, then we're going to start them a little bit slower and get them caught up in the math. And so that is one of the real key components to the engineering pathway, is to build that math expertise first. And you have to have that math before you can get into any engineering courses, so that we want to dial that back a little bit in terms of credit hours until you get caught up with that math. So that's a real critical one. A couple other pathways that students might already be in or have questions about, the Summer Jumpstart program. And that is geared towards getting students to start in the summer with those 2 classes that I mentioned before, to again, get those under your belt. And interesting enough, this might come as a surprise for especially our out-of-state folks. The state of Florida, so this is not an FAU policy, but the state of Florida requires all college students to take 3 courses or 9 credit hours in the summer. That is a state requirement. And so if you start in the summer through the Jumpstart program or the engineering pathway, or even the academic success pathway, any of those courses you take in the summer are going to count towards those 9 hours. So it gives you kind of a double dip, if you will, on the requirements of getting those out of the way, plus obviously fulfilling requirements for your degree. Also a clarification, any courses that you take in the summer are academic courses. These are not review courses. These are not developmental courses. These are college level courses. It's just we're doing this in a semester format that's a little bit more intense with a little bit more supports as you go through. And let me also make one other comment here back to the email. I want to stress that 150%. Use your FAU email. And I'm going to explain actually the why. Because this isn't just we want you to use a branded email. That's really not what's driving this. I am legally, and my partners here are also legally bound. We cannot share or communicate anything through any other means except your FAU email. And the reason for that is because that's the only way we can guarantee that you are on the other end of that. Right? Not a friend or colleague or boyfriend or girlfriend or a family member. That is our only guarantee of who we're actually speaking with. And so we cannot release anything to anything else other than your FAU email account. So make sure as soon as you deposit, which is really your next step in this whole process, deposit, that opens up then everything we've talked about. Then from that point forward, start using that FAU email.
Thank you. And as you were referencing the FAU email, I think all of us were just nodding. So I'll go ahead and remind everyone the importance of that FAU email. All right, so Dr. Burke, you were a student here at FAU for a few degrees. You work with a lot of student leaders. What advice do you give to our incoming students when you have an opportunity to have that informal conversation with them?
Yeah, so I think maximizing your experience is the biggest piece of advice I could give. College is the one time potentially in your whole life that you get to be committed to your development and your future success. You are expected to immerse yourself in the environment here, to take your classes seriously, to meet your faculty, to create lifelong relationships. I met my best friend my second year of college. I was in her wedding. I'm godmother to her 2 kids. I mean, this is the time. And FAU is a unique environment because we are big enough to feel that, traditional football game, fun experience that maybe, the movies show about a college. But we're also growing, and you get to be a part of that growth. You get to build the traditions with us here. And if you invest in FAU, I can pretty much guarantee that you are going to have the time of your life here. And the unique piece that my colleague Brian talked about too is we want FAU to be an absolutely tremendous, extraordinary experience, but FAU isn't going to be the best years of your life, because once you leave here, you're going to skyrocket to exceed your wildest dreams. And that's what we're setting you up for here. So maximizing your experience is going to look unique to you. You get to try things out that you've never done before. We have a surf club, we have intramural sports clubs, we have all sorts of things that go on that enable you to find the person you're most excited to be and live that out, while focusing on serious academics that are definitely set up to make you thrive in your field.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Berg. Brian, one of the questions that just came in, it's regarding internships. How do those work? And maybe if you have a couple of examples to share with everyone this morning.
Sure. Yeah, no. So there are different kinds of internships. So internships, what defines an internship is an experience that has outcomes. So it's not going to a job site and making copies and grabbing coffee the way we think about internships, from 20 years ago, but it's going to a job site to really learn or enhance or refine a new skill set. So internships, they start really early. It's not something that students do anymore junior or senior year. We want our students to graduate with multiple internships. There are on-campus internships within certain departments. And again, it's tied to learning. So if it's a student who's majoring in finance and they want to gain some kind of financial skills, they're engaged in an experience that's going to allow them to do that. There are also off-campus internships. We're very fortunate physically where we're located. We're on 3 major counties, and that affords us a lot of kind of proximity and bridges that we can build to major industries and major companies, like right in our backyard. There are several of them. In addition to the traditional internships where our students kind of go on site and learn, there's also a new concept called micro internships, where our students are signing up for projects. These are kind of timed projects, or they're based on an outcome. So it may be a couple weeks experience just to finish a project, and they're paid for these. The majority of internship experiences are paid, and we work with employers to ensure that the ones that aren't paid, we're trying to help them understand the importance of that. But the unpaid ones are very few in between. There's also an option to get credit for internships as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian, for that information. And I do encourage students to continue to explore. And by the way, continue to send your questions. Internships, it's such a wonderful opportunity as you transition from your higher ed to the workforce. So thank you for your insights there. Now, Catherine, looking out my window, I see a new building coming up. I was in Jupiter yesterday. I know there's a new building going up in there as well. Who gets to live in that new facility?
Well, for both our Boca and our Wilkes Honors College new buildings, those are going to be tailored to our upper class students, so our sophomores. So as first year students, you don't maybe get to select those buildings. However, they have some great features that you'll be able to engage in. So our Boca Raton campus building, which has not been named yet, we're waiting just so patiently to know exactly what it's going to be named. And so that building has our Get Wise Center. So it's a 24-hour area for this particular one. We've been used to a nighttime experience for the last couple of years with our Get Wise Center. So this is a space where you can quiet study. There are tutors that would come in. Even our colleagues over in advising sometimes host events before registration around how to register and get prepared and be, ahead of their academic career. So we have that Get Wise Center there. And then we have some study areas throughout that building. In our Wilkes Honors College building, they have a maker space, so a space where you can, work with your research or internship spaces and just kind of create. They also have a brand new rec center that's also going into that space as well. So it may not be your first year that you'll live in that building, but most definitely in your second and third years.
Catherine, you mentioned something very important earlier on, and it's the high demand for on-campus housing and living. So we know our local students and some of the housing requirements. We also know that May 1st is a big deadline. Can you maybe remind some of our students the importance of not having to wait, especially if you know FAU, it's where you want to join, and also maybe you're a student that doesn't have a requirement but still want it. So can you maybe expand on that area?
Yes. So like I said earlier, we do have a really high demand for our housing. I would say, and I'm going to break it up into two different pieces. So I'll start first with our Wilkes Honors College students. So yes, we have a 2-year live-on requirement, but we have a large number of students who just want to live on our Wilkes Honors College for their whole 4 years. So we do a recontracting process for our upper class students, and they take part in that. And so we make sure that they do that early, and they get to select their space, pick their roommates. It's really a great opportunity to connect with students. For our first year students, you want to do that, want to select and get your housing by May 1. So completing that application, so that way you know that you have a space. Anybody who would apply after May 1 may be placed on a wait list. And so you don't want to put that at risk. If you really want a particular, for example, a single room within a suite, because all of our rooms are suites, then you really want to prioritize getting your housing application and contract completed as soon as possible. You may risk being placed in a double that you may not want to be in, but that would be what we have. In our Boca Raton campus, we see a very high attraction to our housing because it just has all these great amenities. Plus you're super close to campus in a sense of going to your classes, activities. Like Dr. Fairman said earlier, the bonfire and the WOW events that we have. You don't have to really get in your car and do any of those things. You can just walk with your friends, right? And so it just creates a great opportunity. So you want to, once again, complete that application by May 1, as well as we are closing our roommate matching on April 1st. So anything after that, between April 1st and May 1, if we have students who are still trying to select, we'll work with them. But anything after May 1, we will be using our lifestyle questions to match up roommates, because part of it is we want to get a housing assignment out as soon as possible to students so they can start having those conversations. The other piece, if you are living locally, they are students who do apply for housing who are local. However, they don't have priority. So we will house our students who are over the 30-mile radius first. And what we may have available, we could house a student who's within area, but we just cannot state that at this moment we have the ability. They may be placed on a wait list, and that may mean after the first day of school, they may get a call to say we have a space. And so we can't guarantee that. Whom we can have a priority for are those who are over the 30-mile radius.
Perfect, thank you. Dr. Burke, regarding orientation, a student is asking, can I do orientation with my parent?
Yes, absolutely. We encourage families to be a part of the orientation experience. So no matter which option, if the student is orienting for a summer start, we have family experiences tied to that. And if they're a fall admit student, we also have both of those options I mentioned earlier, totally virtual or the in-person experiences. We have family experiences that accompany all of that. So you would actually sign your family member up as a part of the reservation process that we've mentioned is in the Owldone portal. So there are costs associated with those experiences. So make sure when you read through the options, you click in and enter your family member's information, and then we would email them based on the email address provided in the reservation form all the details that they need to know about their orientation. We also have Owl Family Weekend in the fall that, if I could just throw that in there really quickly, the weekend of October 2nd, we have Owl Family Weekend, which we're so excited about, and families can participate. It's a football game, a very important football game that weekend, and I'll wait for our official reveal to put it all together, but look forward to that experience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Berg. And we have time for a couple of questions. I see them coming in the chat, so I appreciate those. This one goes to you, Joe, and it's a student asking if they can double major.
The quick answer is yes. The more complicated answer is it's going to depend on what those two majors are. There are some majors that are very compatible, that fit well together, and there are some that don't. And so, for example, if you want to double major in piano playing and engineering, that's a very difficult combination because both those programs are so intensive. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It means, though, that it's going to take more time than 4 years to do it. So that's a conversation to have with your academic advisor. And if you are thinking about that, what I always tell students is pick a primary major. Concentrate on it first. Because, and I'll pull Brian here in on this a little bit, if you're doing two majors simultaneously and something happens, you get a great internship, you get a great job offer, but you're not done with either one, you're kind of stuck. Focus on the one that you want first. And then if you still are interested and have the room and the ability and the finances to complete that second one, then you go ahead and add that in. But that way, if you are ready to graduate because you've got a great offer, and you're ready to go. I think that's one of the myths in college as well. Two majors doesn't necessarily mean it's better or that it makes you more competitive. In fact, in most situations, I would argue that a single major with a very robust internship and career component is probably going to open up a whole lot more doors for you than two separate set of majors.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so I'm keeping an eye on the clock here, and I would like to, well, first of all, say thank you to all of our panelists this morning. Always very informative and of course, very helpful. So thank you again for your time. We want to make sure that all of you get Owldone. So if you haven't already, make sure you log in, owldone.fau.edu. Submit your deposit, start working on your housing, sign up for orientation, be in the lookout for advising. These are things that you can do today. Don't wait until deadlines when everyone is trying to do it at the same time. So as questions come up, we are here to help. Now, next on your agenda, it's the academic college presentation. Now, and these presentations will begin right after this panel. If you are not sure where to go, and I guess as a quick reminder, click on the word agenda on the navigational panel to the left of your screen and select the academic session that you would like to attend. So with that in mind, thank you once again for joining us. We know that you'll enjoy those academic sessions that follow. You will also find them informative. Please remain in the program for the entirety. We look forward to seeing you on campus very soon, and go Owls.